And our guest speaker today is Jay. Jay is from Sedona in Arizona. We spoke about Sedona in our pre-meeting. Jay is a researcher, historian, and a co-founder of the AA History Symposium. He's the author of Loving Sober. And I tell you, I thought it was a writing or spelling mistake, and I looked it up. It's not Living Sober. The book is really named Loving Sober. And Jay is currently writing a book about Bill Wilson from 1950 until his death in 1971. Jay has been on his recovery journey since 1979, which is awesome. So many 24 hours. Thank you very much. And we are going to enjoy what you have to say tonight.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Jay, and I'm an alcoholic. And God is doing for me today what I couldn't do for myself, because it's 7:30 in Berlin, and I'm not drinking yet today. It's just bizarre. I wanted to ask you if you'd be kind enough to indulge me. Actually, you'll be indulging me a lot over the next 30 minutes. I am coming to you from Torrance, California, where I am being lovingly housed by my friend Bill C. from Los Angeles. There on the screen. He's 38 years sober this week. So I think it would be really fun if you wouldn't mind, whoever the co-host is, to unmute everybody so you can sing poorly to my friend Bill, because he hasn't been serenaded in German, Dutch, and whatever other things we've got rolling. So if you'd be so kind to do that.
Jay, you bet. Everybody, please, who wants to join in an awful round of singing. I love that from the Los Angeles meeting. We are joining, and we are singing in the most awful way we can. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bill. Happy birthday to you.
That was internationally awful.
That was awesomely awful. So I mute you all, but Jay, you need to unmute yourself then again, okay, so that we can listen to you.
Thanks. So I always need to say how much Bill has helped me in order to get through this. But if we're talking about steps 10, 11, and 12, for sure, there's no joy in my life as ongoing as the 12-step work that Cleveland and I have been involved with over the years. And we both like to say that it's 38 years. It's the longest significant relationship in either of our lives. Pathetic, isn't it? But anyway, I love you, Bill, and thank you so much for stopping by. I came to you on the 2nd day of May in 1979, and although I found it necessary on a lot of occasions, I haven't taken the front drink, I haven't sniffed any glue, or done any of those things that I found to be so consoling. And so, and although we all have the same amount of sobriety this day, the only difference between my run in AA is that my heart has been open consecutively for this amount of time. Very, very odd. I realized just a little while ago that I've been sober and active for half of the existence of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is wild. And I love AA because when I came to you, I had drunk away my soul. And at that first meeting, hope was reignited, and within 3 days, I'd done my first third step prayer. There was a woman who terrified me at a meeting. She said, I can tell you the secret of Alcoholics Anonymous in 4 words. Oh, what are they? Find God or die. You know, and I can tell you the secret of Alcoholics Anonymous today in 4 words. Find, love, and live. And when I say love, please don't confuse it with the affection I may have for my community and my friends. When I say love, I'm talking about a real experience that I've had in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've had a number of awakenings, and they've been a lot of fun. And you won't find a greater fan of Bill Wilson than me. You'll find some that are as enthusiastic. But I like to say that I'm the most fortunate male form that you've ever met, because I get to live in Sedona, which allows me to have a latitude of thought that I don't think I would have had if I'd have stayed in Los Angeles. There's a true spiritual vibration in that area that allows one to open in very very entertaining ways. And another reason why I say that I'm the most fortunate male form I've ever met is that I had the Bill and I and a number of people, we've been involved in in supporting the Stepping Stones Foundation, and my kind of joy in that has always been the archive. And now I implore all of you to go to the Stepping Stones website and sign up to be part of the digital archive, because they've got hundreds upon hundreds of documents of Bill and Lois's that they've put up that you can go and enjoy and sit with. And I enjoy being a curmudgeon and an iconoclast and all these other wonderful adjectives about trying to, get people to maybe stretch their thinking and their experience of this thing that we call Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you join that and you start to search and play around with it, you will find language and insights every bit as compelling as what this emotional sobriety letter is pointing to. And the fun thing is that we're in a period right now where there's a real shift in that you won't need geeks like me to interpret information anymore. It'll be available to everybody. And I think that that's really, really exciting, so that you get to have your own relationship with Bill. You're Bill W., not Bill C. But you get to have your own relationship with the information and his insights. Literally, I used to have to fly to New York. I would sit there. I would ask for documents. They were kind enough to provide it. They'd bring me a couple of folders. I'd have 3 or 4 hours with them. I couldn't. I could verbally transcribe them, but I couldn't take pictures of them. I couldn't sit and really let the information inform my heart. And now I've been fortunate enough to be the beta tester for the digital archive, and I've read now close to 2,000 letters of Bill's. So I have a very different relationship with him. I feel like I know the coffee shop Bill Wilson, not the person that was making pronouncements, because or not pronouncements, he never would really pronounce. When the privilege of reading Wilson's letters, what happens is that when he has a interaction with someone, the first one is kind of simple, and he will be responding to whatever it is that somebody's talking about. Now, he was getting hundreds of letters a week. I mean, it's just incomprehensible. And so what he would do, and most of the people that were writing him because they were in trouble. They were trying to figure something out. And what he would do is he would validate their experience. And then he would share some kind of self-deprecating story about himself, because that was the way that he did his best to keep himself off the pedestal. And then, he just encouraged him to stay with it. If there was a second letter, it was really amazing how deep he would go in revealing himself and his walk and the like. And so it's an amazing thing. So when we look at this letter about emotional sobriety, he was writing to a buddy named Ollie, and 1958 was a fascinating time in Wilson's life. He was 3 years removed from having turned the fellowship over to the fellowship. He was in the midst of finding out whether a new medicine, lysergic acid, was something that would be helpful to humanity in demonstrating the existence of the fourth dimension, and allowing people to see that a relationship with spirit was not fantasy, but was something that was real. He was starting to get involved in a couple of other projects that were quite wonderful. He had a very abiding and supportive love in his life. So one of the other things that's interesting is because most of these documents that we have are people that Bill is responding to their challenges, we don't get to see him as one of the great intellectuals of the 20th century. And the people that he was running with and the stuff that they were involved with was absolutely amazing. In 1953, he was involved with a group of people that were trying to come up with a way of introducing spiritual healing in church liturgies, and trying to do their best to send this information out through that network in the United States. But back to Ollie. Ollie, one of the letters that I've been privileged to read, that kind of was where this emotional sobriety comes from, is they were commiserating about being in a relationship that was, Wilson referred to it as momism, and that there was not an equality in their marriages. It was a situation where where Bill felt that he was trapped in a role that he could not get out of. And so this is kind of the engine behind this letter that then became an article in the Grapevine. And the cool thing is that you can go on the digital archive and you can catch this particular letter. And you can see it written out, in the way that he wrote it and all that stuff. And I just love that stuff. I'm a real geek when it comes to things like that. But I want to use this meeting as kind of a springboard to talk about what is it that we're doing. I spend a lot of time rolling around in the musty past and enjoying the heck out of it and trying to interpret my experience using this consciousness that came out of the late 30s in New England, one of the most invigorating intellectually and spiritually periods in world history. The stuff that came out of there would, if we look back at Christian Science and how that changed, the whole church structure over time and allowed an opening of hearts and minds that had never been available. And then this evolution of thought, which, now we're in the 50s, in the late 50s with Bill, and he's writing with some of the most important philosophers and thinkers of the time. Gentlemen that I'd like to suggest to you, Gerald Heard, Heard, Aldous Huxley. If you haven't read his essays, they're spectacular. They are so much fun. And a woman by the name of Eileen Garrett, who established the Parapsychology Foundation, trying to show that it was indeed possible to have relationships with people after the death of the body. He was involved with J.B. Ryan down at Duke University with the parapsychology department there at the university. So, and he's having a really good time outside of what we're talking about here, about this emotional sobriety. I think that it's incumbent upon us to build upon what has been given to us instead of trying to codify and make a 1958 document being the new keel that we're gonna follow. It's been a few years since that, and so how do we do that? Well, I think we all, or at least, excuse me, my experience is that I've always been looking for the cheat code. I've always been looking for a way to kind of spiritually pole vault or bypass my experience. Many of those experiences I got myself into. And how is it that we take responsibility for that? And how do we gain dominion upon our thinking and our emotional nature to the point that we are not we're not beholden to the slings and arrows of the problem du jour. And in this letter, Wilson comes upon what he leaned upon, which is the St. Francis prayer. Now, most of us are aware that St. Francis didn't write the prayer and all that stuff, but who cares? It's a nice brand. And one of the things that I've enjoyed doing of late is trying to make information accessible to anyone, whether they're in a fellowship or not. And so if you'd be kind enough to put that first, or I guess it's the second document that I sent, the one with the rainbow in it, up so that everybody can see it. So this is a way to allow people to access the information without any sexual or religious thing. A lot of people that I work with, they have folks that they're involved with, husbands, wives, partners that are not spiritually oriented, and when they get the St. Francis prayer in the way that it's written in the 12 and 12, many times they just say, "Oh, it's they dismiss it." But this is a way of really allowing this information to be available to anybody, because we're talking about principles. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about God. We're not talking about any of that stuff. And the principles are what's important here. And what I've found over, God, a long time, is that this particular set of principles is the way to walk into life encouraged, to walk into life joyful, to walk into life expectant of a great opportunity, as opposed to being challenged or taking these principles and using them as some kind of a yardstick to beat myself with about what I'm doing and not doing. And so the thing that I really have enjoyed doing for years is, first and foremost, telling folks whenever they call me and they're in a challenge about, well, they're not, work's not good, it's not good at all, blah, 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 is to take this very much like Wilson talks about it in this letter, and to apply it to my consciousness at least 3 or 4 times a day. If I'm having trouble at home, I need to inscribe this on my heart before I walk in the door when I come home from work, so that I realize that what is my mission? And more importantly, what is my privilege? My privilege is bringing this consciousness of love first and foremost, not where am I going to get the acknowledgement. I was fortunate enough to hear a speaker by the name of Norm Alpe for years and years and years. And Norm said, counters are losers. And one of the real spiritual errors that I made early on was, or not early on, but I think I'd been married so I was probably about 8 years sober. And I felt like my wife wasn't being nice to me. And I started counting when I walked in the house, did she ever greet me with anything good? And I quit counting at about 90 days in a row. But if I'm not looking for that acknowledgement, if I'm not looking for someone to bring something to me, then I have dominion over my emotional nature. And so this idea that what I get to do is that I get to bring my faith, my experience, not in anything outside of my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is that everything ends up working out. And the things that I think are the most incomprehensible end up being the foundation of a whole new way of life, or a whole new phase of consciousness. And this is available to all of us, and we get to inflict it on everybody for fun and for free, looking only to comfort people, looking only to understand, looking only to die to self. And by die to self, what I mean is this materialist idea that somehow something outside of me is going to change the way I feel about myself. So you can go ahead and take that down, but that's in the chat for everyone. So when I'm looking for a way out, just as Wilson talked about, but see, it's not a matter of just saying, oh, well, yeah, that's interesting, but I mean, it's a matter of, it's like, what do we got? 60 people here on this Zoom today. If each and every one of us for the next week, every time that we opened a door, we're looking to bring understanding instead of getting something from whatever room we were going in, the entire world would change. So that's one that's kind of my thing about this letter specifically. Where's an area that is more contemporary that we might be able to look at what this emotional sobriety? I think that one of the really fun things is our friend Eckhart Tolle's description of the pain body. Now, I don't know if you folks have been privileged to read the Power of Now or The New Earth. If one of the fun things I do, I just love torturing people. But one of the fun things I do when I lead a men's retreat is on the closing day, I'll say, now, guys, if you're involved with a feminine form, when you go home, ask her, will you watch Oprah with me? And I don't know if, some of you younger folks may not have had the opportunity, but when The New Earth came out, Oprah actually spent 14 weeks with Eckhart walking through the book, and to actually hear the vibration of what's encoded in that from the author is fabulous. But this thing about the pain body is a really fun way to take a look at my emotional nature and how it's affected. The idea is that there's an energy that when I am in discomfort that will not dissipate until it gets someone else agitated or someone else in discomfort. And then once it's got that, then it'll dissipate a bit. Now, I don't know if any of you nice people have ever been involved with, walking around the house and being upset and this and that. And then, once you get your partner kind of charged up, you see the charge fade in yourself. And it's not anything conscious, but this thing of the information that I put in my heart and my mind, is it taking somebody else's pain, somebody else's agitation, somebody else's misunderstanding, somebody that I think may not be and taking that and bringing it inside of myself, and then trying to dissipate it in one way or another. And there is no way that I can eat a quart of ice cream a day and not start to wear it. And there is no way that I can allow this stuff into my mind and not have it and not wear it in my being. So when I'm talking about being emotionally stable, now I'm Bill was a great witness to this, that I when I was when my daughter was 5 years old, and I dissolved my first family, I didn't want a television to be the point that my daughter and I would engage at. And so I haven't watched television in many years. And then I quit reading the newspaper probably 4 years after that. And I quit listening to good radio probably 3 years after that. So it's been probably 25 years that I haven't been absorbing the pain body that is transmitted electronically. And I think we all can see how it's been ramped up over the past 15 years, and how our social discourses has dissolved into something that's absolutely unrecognizable for some of us. So this idea of this pain body is not personal. It's an impersonal energy. And so what I need to do is I need to be aware, and if I'm I can either put myself in the position to have a spiritual experience, or I can put myself in a position to be agitated. And I have a weird experience the other day. I went and saw this thing, Avatar. Now, I haven't been to the movies in forever, but I figured, well, everybody's doing this. I might as well go do it. I lasted 12 minutes. I had to walk out. And the reason I had to walk out is that it wasn't so much what was the story that was on the screen, but it was the energy with which it was being presented, the intensity of the color, the intensity of the sound, all that stuff. And I see myself being played by the technology, not the technology serving the story. Now, that's an opinion. It's a good one, I think. But it doesn't matter whether it's news or it's this or it's that. It's how do I, if I want a life that is based in peace, how do I get dominion upon that? And so I think that's it. And then the other thing that I wanted to just mention is, practice. I don't know anybody that's sane, sober, and happy that doesn't have a meditative practice. And we can all use all kinds of service in order to, jump through the different hoops and pass by different things. But either we are going to accept the responsibility and the dominion of being intelligent agents of grace and reflecting and refracting that to all that we meet, or we're not allowing ourselves to be part of this evolutionary movement. This thing that we call Alcoholics Anonymous, which is based in spirit, but it's based in a spirit that we absolutely insist is indefinable. So if you'd be kind enough to put the second slide up. So this is a practice that we can use at any time. When we get sober, we do the serenity prayer 87 times a day. But the metta prayer, we can move in whatever way that we want. And so to be able, those of us that are privileged to share our lives with others, this is a way that if we can stop and put our hand on our heart 4 times a day and say, may I be happy, truly happy. May I be free from suffering. May my heart be open. May I be a light of peace in the world. And then if we're fortunate enough to share our lives, it's may Adele be happy. May Adele truly be happy. May Adele be free from suffering. May Adele's heart be open. May Adele be a light of peace in the world. And then, using our union as a foundation to bring this into the world, may our marriage be happy, truly happy. May our partnership be free from suffering. May our hearts be open. May our partnership be a light of peace in the world. And then if we're, fortunate enough to be breeders, to say that, may my family be happy, truly happy. May we be free from suffering. May our hearts be open. May our family be a light of peace in the world. And by doing things like this, thank you, you can take that down now. By doing things like this, what I do is that I build a consciousness that I can bring into any point. And I have a life that's not based in me. And if we talk, and then ultimately, the most powerful prayer that I know is send me a drunk. Send me a drunk, or, in whatever 12-step group you're in. When I first start sponsoring a person, I'll always say, don't expect me to have a conversation with you when we're at the meeting. Because when I go to a meeting where I'm doing this, I'm looking for somebody that looks like I used to feel. And I walk up and I say, hey, how you doing? I haven't had the privilege of going to a meeting before with you. Not, are you new? But, to really avail myself of what it is that the meetings are for, which is for me to meet people that are stuck in the suffering. And one last thing, our neuroscientist friends found that the number one, the most effective way to promote intimacy is reading aloud together. And so when we sit there at the kitchen table, turning the pages, the neuroscientists have finally come up with a way of describing what we have had the privilege of experiencing together for many, many years. So I'm delighted to be with you. I'd love to, if anybody's got any questions or like me to go down a particular wormhole, I'd be delighted to. I always like to remember our friend Ken Devaney's admonition to us, go out and screw something up, make us proud. And when my muse passed a little while ago, the last thing that she gave to us was radically, ridiculously, and without exception, love yourself. That's it. Everything else will take care of itself. So, anyway, I love you all, and here we go.